night was okay? Can I get you? This is vaquero country. Generations of cowboys have eked out a living here, my family among them. But all that cattle ranching has left its mark. I'd be trading this land's future for a quick buck if I wasn't prepared to face up to that. You've been all over the world, hunted in countless reserves. If anyone knows what this place needs to compete with the best of them, it's you. So, I want you to help us make a change. Become Northern Mexico's leading biosphere and hunting reserve. Let me explain. ¿Qué onda, sleepyhead? It's time to get to work. If you want to head out and work off last night's carne asada, do me the honor of officially opening this outpost first, huh? Or feel free to scout out the place. Get the bacanora out of your system. This building, La Casa Grande, or the Big House, is gonna be your base of operations. I know, it's a mess. I took my own stuff, but nobody's volunteered to come pick up the family's things yet. So look all you want, but don't touch. My mom would come over and hit me with her flip-flop if I so much as hinted that someone had been rummaging around. Family, you know. Anyway, settle in. Not a bad place to put your feet up, no? Come back whenever you need a real bed. Now, I know you've mastered some pretty extreme environments, but the desert isn't something you can just stroll into. Why don't you do some scouting from the lookout tower nearby? The first step to surviving out here is knowing where the water is. That'll lead you to the food, and I'm sure you can figure out the rest. Looks captivating, no? Except a lot of the problem with ranches like this one is what you can't see. We've sucked up so much of the groundwater for cattle that areas that used to be wetlands are turning arid year-round. The grasslands are mostly buffalo grass. It's an introduced species that smothers native plants. Likes to catch fire, too. I once saw a saguaro, you know, one of those classic cactus plants, surrounded by buffalo grass, burst into flames. It was one of the kicks in the rear I needed to finally sell off the last of our cattle. Anyway, take the time to explore the ranch in your downtime too. If even half of what I heard growing up is true, there is plenty waiting out there. So, while I'm stuck waiting for someone, they said less than a minute, but out here that means at least 5, or probably more like 20. Anyway, you're here to evaluate the facilities, but there are a few things I need you to take care of first. I'll make it worth your while, of course. First up, the cattle may be gone, but there's still some fencing left. There should be a pair of fencing pliers on the countertop in the hacienda's kitchen. That's them. I'll mark the spot on your hunter mate. Okay, take it section by section. Ay, watch yourself there. The nearest hospital would laugh you out of the building if you told them you needed a tetanus shot for a barbed wire cut just because you weren't wearing gloves. And now the posts. You can pile them up in a heap and I'll have someone collect them later. Whew. I'm getting sweaty just watching you. Hey, don't get me wrong. I actually wanted to check this one off the list myself, but I had some matters to attend to in town. It's a big moment for the ranch, tearing down the last of the fencing. The Soto family has raised cattle on this land since Mexico's independence. My mom... now you're making me sentimental. Look, how about a change of pace, huh? I'm stuck here waiting, and you're probably itching to put that trigger finger to good use, so let's have some fun. Things out here aren't all business, you know? You ever hunted pheasant before, no? Well, I'm no expert, but I picked up a couple of pointers from my friends over the border when we introduced these guys, so I can show you the ropes. Head over to the region marked on your hunter mate and we'll get started. Pheasants are shy, so look around for any evidence of them in vegetation cover. Somewhere around here is a good place to start looking. So, the trick to pheasant hunting is maybe a little counterintuitive. You have to make them flee, or flush them out. They're lousy flyers, but we can use that to our advantage. We've just got to get them to take off first. You know the rest. The right ammo for the job, of course. Then it's pan comido, a piece of cake. And no one likes a cheater, so no shooting them on the ground. Got it? I'm not a bad teacher, no? Man, you're a pretty good pupil. My ambition is to make this the place to hunt pheasant in northern Mexico. If we can keep them this size, that shouldn't be a problem. Just gotta get the gringo tourists on board. They're a big money spinner, sure. But if that's what it takes to keep this place up and running, so be it. It's all for a good cause. Speaking of gringos, my cousin told me that she'd spotted some intruders with a U.S. license plate going hog wild, shooting animals from, get this, from a hunting stand mounted to a pickup truck. My insurance doesn't cover them, and I doubt the hunting they're doing is particularly ethical. So can you keep a lookout? Gracias. Did you notice how dry the land around the old cattle pasture was? Even compared to the rest of the ranch, I mean. The more cattle you cram into a small area, the less ground cover there is. Water just runs off the land instead of making it into the vegetation. My parents' generation dug wells and pumped out several times more water than would rain in a year. When I told them my plans for this place, they weren't happy. Said I was selling out my inheritance. We haven't spoken much since. Of course, there are plenty of rancheros out here who graze their cattle responsibly. I just want to go in a different direction. I've tried explaining what they'd gain from it. They just wish me luck. But I've heard what they say behind my back. Chavita fresita. It's like, they're basically calling me a snob. They went to college in Mexico City, same as me. I just stayed a while after I graduated. Worked overseeing protected natural areas for CONANP. But back to business. Luckily for us, there's an easy solution to the groundwater problem. It just requires some more muscle on your part. I need you to set up a few gabions. They're wire mesh baskets you fill with rocks and place along the banks of the arroyo to accumulate silt, which holds the water like a sponge so it can trickle back into the ground. The winter rains aren't as predictable as they used to be. You know, with climate change doing a number on us. So, the sooner, the better. There should be a pile of rocks there. Line up the gabions first, then fill them. They're conspicuous enough, no? No? Well, the important thing is that they work. Cram as many as you can into each of them. That'll set us up nicely for winter. gonna take some time to see the effect of all this, but it's good work you're doing. Believe me, I'm grateful for the extra set of hands. I have one final task for you before you are free to go off on your own. Most of our outposts are former stockmen's residences. Gives them a bit of rustic charm, you know? Back in the old days, entire families worked the land here. Men, women, and children. We still had a couple of people on staff when I was born. But then beef prices tanked and my parents couldn't afford the expense anymore. Us kids had to pick up the slack. Anyway, there's a stockman's residence kind of in the middle of nowhere, even by the standards of this place, that had fallen into disuse. We've given it a paint job and replaced some of the furniture. Now all that's needed to officially establish it as an outpost is a notice board. Head over and set it up. There's the notice board. Grab that shovel too. Clear away the rocks first, just over there where the path begins. Bet you're glad you're not doing this in July. What's that? Gene, is that some sort of save for a logbook? Let me see. It's a brass lock and handle, a keyhole. This is not new. Could be early 20th century. I feel like I recognize it from somewhere. I've got it. There used to be a lockbox like this in the Casa Grande's master bedroom. My mom wouldn't like you snooping around, but this feels important. Can you head back over there and see if you can find the key? Just if you're up for it, of course. This isn't part of your job description. Oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Finish up here first. Looks good. And feel free to use this outpost yourself now. If you're in the neighborhood, I'd appreciate it if you could swing by the Casa Grande. I guess my curiosity's got the better of me. The master bedroom's upstairs. He always did appreciate his privacy, my great-grandfather. That room and the study were like his own personal oasis. Right. Let me think. Some plausible deniability would be good for when my mom finally shows up. So let's not just start rifling through things. The logbox I remember was sitting on a shelf next to a wardrobe. Is that the key? It sure looks well used. Let's try it. Ah, man. It's a disassembled shotgun. Pump action looks like. Also early 20th century. Are those flecks of blood on the stock? It would make sense if it belonged to Don Javier. He did sleep in here for most of his life, but I don't recognize it. Look, I don't know how things are done where you're from, but I'd rather not get the police involved with this. Whatever happened clearly happened a long time ago, and they've got more to worry about out here in the borderlands. Plus, my family has a somewhat complicated history with them. So, let's try to solve this ourselves. Let me think. I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but maybe we should check it for clues. RS Bosque Alto, agosto de 1916. RS Bosque Alto, August 1916. Bosque Alto is a site to the east of here, the woods up in the hills, but the initials... RS, RS, RS... I'm stumped. How about you leave the gun here for now, and I'll have someone from the lab we usually work with for animal samples check the blood. I really doubt there's any intact DNA left, if it's as old as that engraving suggests, but it doesn't hurt to check. I'll keep you up to date. I'm not aware of any buildings up around Bosque Alto, or at least not any intact ones. Good thing I know someone whose entire job involves tracking things down, and this time you don't need to worry about anything running off on you. I'll mark the rough location on your hunter mate, and you can put those transferable skills to the test. Chances are we won't find anything, but I won't rest easy until we've at least checked. No luck yet? There's a lookout tower nearby that'll give you a good view out onto Bosque Alto. I'll send you the coordinates. There, by the lake. A shack. Well, I guess I wasn't wrong about there not being any intact buildings around here. Are you able to get inside? Be careful. Someone must have rested here at some stage, but there's nothing to suggest they bunkered down. Try the desk there. Mira, what a thing to find out in the middle of nowhere. I'm amazed it's not completely faded. So, I'm pretty sure the guy on the right is Bisabuelo Javier. Even without the head, the suit's a dead giveaway. And his younger friend must be our RS. The date isn't too far off the one in the shotgun, at least. This is weirdly familiar. I feel like I've seen him somewhere before. Let's go back to the Casa Grande. There's a century's worth of old photos and newspaper clippings in Javier's study. Maybe we'll find something that jogs my memory. The landform looks like the one around where they used to water the cattle back when open grazing was still practiced. It's along the arroyo, but I'm not sure where exactly, and I don't recognize the shrine. Take the photo with you and we can try matching it to your surroundings. Oh, by the way, I got a call from the lab while you were wandering around Bosque Alto. As I suspected, the blood samples didn't turn up any DNA. It was always going to be a long shot, if you'll forgive the pun. Anyway, I sent the shotgun itself to a gunsmith to retrofit and reassemble. I want you to have it. You didn't have to go out of your way to help solve this mystery that has nothing to do with you. But you stepped up. I know, it's a bit macabre to use a dead man's weapon, but, look, we're conservationists. Waste not, want not should guide us. I doubt RS would mind whoever he was. Unless you'd rather it ended up in a museum. Didn't think so. I've asked my cousin to leave it at an outpost I'll mark on your hunter mate. I hope it serves you better than it did RS. I've got some more news while I have your ear. Remember those gringo intruders I told you about? Well, my cousin's just texted me. She spotted their pickup truck again on her way home. Actually, not far from the outpost you're at now. But no sign of the intruders themselves. Do me a favor. Head out and jot down their license plate number. And if you do see them, probably best to just turn back. Who knows what they're packing? Eesh. I really hope they at least turned off the engine when they went hunting in this thing. And that's the crappiest shooting range I've ever seen. What does the plate say? Baden, Texas, Lone Star State. Oh, God. I can feel your mood worsening from here. You've had more than a couple of run-ins with these guys before, no? I'd love to tell you I'd never heard of them, but their reputation extends to these parts too. Well, at least the plate makes them easily identifiable. So the, targets are all intact, which means one of two things. Either they're just terrible shots, or something else caught their attention. Let's remind them they're not alone out here, why don't we? Shoot down a couple of them. It's an excuse to try out that new shotgun if you have it on you. There. How's it feeling? Age certainly hasn't dimmed its beauty, no? This is around where I think the area in the photo might be. You're gonna have to do some scouting again. Keep your eyes peeled for the shrine and the curve of the hill behind it. Here's the arroyo, or, well, what's left of it. It's dry almost year-round these days. Almost hard to imagine they used to be able to graze cattle here. Let's try following it north. This looks familiar. Over on that hill. That's definitely it. 100 years of dust storms and summer monsoons have changed it surprisingly little, I have to say. A ver, let's take a look around. Not superstitious, but this place is giving me an odd feeling. This frame doesn't look all that old. Let me try to translate. Someone plunged a knife deep in my side. Did he know why? I don't know why. Maybe he knew. I never knew. Ay, Dios. I recognize this. Let me think. That novel about the revolution. Los de abajo, the underdogs. It was Javier's favorite. This looks like it's been torn straight out of it. And the frame was probably placed here a lot more recently than the grave marker was erected. He wanted us to find this. Maybe there's a clue in the book itself. Let's head back to the Casa Grande one last time. I think we're close to wrapping this up. The study's next to the room you're staying in. The furniture in there is uncovered. I was actually planning on moving most of it out to make it into a second guest bedroom. Any day now. Well, it's probably for the best. Because this time you're definitely not going to be able to avoid rifling through things. Mom will forgive me, I hope. So many places to hide something. Take it one by one, and we'll see if anything jumps out. These trolls, they're a good deal less scary in miniature, no? A couple of family members were in New Zealand around the time they filmed the first movie. A souvenir from my great-grandparents' trip to Germany. My bisabuela was a surprisingly mean shot. I'm still amazed they got these plates over in one piece. Bisabuelo Javier was a big travel buff. He used to steal all the towels from the hotel rooms we stayed in. He'd be like, "It's covered by the room fee." He was a good man. A bit eccentric, but it was part of his charm. This is more like it. Let me take a look. Raúl Soto del Bosque. Raúl Soto. R.S. Javier's little brother. Of course. I should have known. I've heard the stories a million times. They never found his body. Raúl was a bit of a hothead, if you'd believe the reputation he had. A young intellectual. You know the type. And Javier was the last person to see him alive. And did he go join the Villistas? Or maybe he had a target on his back. Us Sotos were a pretty influential family around here before the revolution. Javier and Raúl's dad would have had the ear of the local cacique, the mayor in the pocket of the federal government. Favors for favors, you know. But then, everything was shook up. I heard that when they reported the disappearance, the police, or what was left of them around that time, practically laughed in their faces. They knew Raúl better than his own family. Said he was probably out fighting with some bandits. But then why would he leave his shotgun behind? And how did it end up in that logbook 6 feet under the ground? We're clearly not done with this mystery yet, but at least we know the major players now. Let's try finding that shrine. Right where we left it. ¿Qué es esto? A secret passage. Right under our noses this whole time. I trust you have a flashlight. Be careful on those stairs. I have to say, I was half expecting a chupacabra to jump out and drain your blood. This is a relief. Anything on the desk? A white neckerchief. This looks just like the one Raúl was wearing in the photo. Diary. Javier's? No. It's Raúl's. But this explains a lot. I've been the older brother myself, and I dread to think what my sisters had written about me in their diaries. But it bled over into politics for Javier and Raúl. In the middle of a civil war. And then Javier took the gun, and when we found it, there was still blood on the stock. And Raúl's things are here. They must have had another altercation. One that didn't end well for Raúl. I still can't believe it. My bisabuelo was a bit weird, but doing this to his own brother? It makes me second guess our whole relationship. It's a lot. I think he wanted us to find this. Not just so we'd know the truth, but to show us that he did love his brother. Now, despite everything. It just hurts me knowing that he took a secret like this to his grave. Hey, listen. I owe you big time for helping us out with this. Thank you, really. You're welcome to stay on the ranch as long as you'd like. In the meantime, I'm going to do what I should have done ages ago and get in touch with my family. Let them know what you've discovered. Talk soon. Hey, ¿qué onda? I hope you're keeping yourself busy. I just got off the phone with my mom. I told her about the changes we've been making here and what we found. And I apologized. Me, stubborn little chava. Well, there's a first time for everything. I said I wasn't trying to stomp all over the ranch's history and that I want them. I want my family on board with me. There's one thing Javier and Raúl's story has taught me. It's that these kind of feuds aren't worth it. Whatever the reason. But yeah, now that that's done, we're looking to the future. And I wanted to ask you a favor. I'm sure you've noticed the scaffolding above the entrance to the Casa Grande. We repainted the entire thing recently, but it still needs some finishing touches. One thing that's been on my to-do list for ages is coming up with a more search engine-friendly name for this building, so prospective guests have an easier time finding us. La Casa Grande is fine, but it's a bit impersonal. Plus, there's tons of them in this state alone. Well, my mom had a great idea. How's your handwriting? Not to worry. I asked my sister to drop by some stencils and paint while you were out hunting. She left them in the kitchen. Can you fetch them and head over to the archway at the Casa Grande's entrance? Oh, I won't spoil the name. You'll see soon enough. There we go. And don't forget the brush. Steady now. Nice and even. Couldn't have done a better job myself. We wanted something that had a story behind it, that evokes the history of the ranch. Raúl didn't deserve his fate. Even Bisabuelo Javier would have admitted that. This is our way of honoring him. Oof. I think you're due a break now. Thirsty work, even in November. You know, I'm already a lot more optimistic about the future of this place than I was just a few short weeks ago. And a lot of that is on you. It's not going to be easy, and I expect we'll hit a few bumps on the way. But with my family backing me, I'm optimistic that we can turn around Rancho del Arroyo. Create a biosphere reserve that all the weird and wonderful creatures of the desert can thrive in. We owe it to the people who fought to make our land better. I'll leave you for now, but keep your eyes on your hunter mate. I'll contact you if there's more work to do. I can't let you off the hook that easily.